I never know how to start these videos, so hello! I also never knew how to start a school presentation. Hello and welcome to my presentation about the books that I read in May. May was a relatively not very busy month for me, which sounds boring, but it meant that I had time to read. For my standards, I actually read quite a few books on English and German. For language mixture purposes, I will only mention English books. I mean, technically I could read French books, and it's not that I don't like French, I just really suck at French. And in all honesty, it would just be more work than entertainment because I would have to look up every second word and it would feel more like homework. So I tend to read English or German books, and preferably in the original language. All of these books, to my knowledge, are originally written in English. Now, of course, if there's some really interesting book, like A Brief History of Humanity or so, I don't know that language either, so I would read that on German or English. But you kind of get my concept. It's not actually very relevant to the whole video thing. I wasn't very good at school presentations either. And because of my lovely bullet journal, I actually wrote down what books I read. So I actually have this section where I write down all the things I've watched and all the things I've read, and from when till when, so I know when about in the year it was. Okay, so the first book I read was The Handmaid's Tale, which is an older book. I read it quite quickly because I'm either this person that I read and finish the entire book in 3 days, or I spend 5 months. So that book I actually did read in 3 days. It's this dystopia about how women lose all their power, like they can't really go to normal work anymore, the property of their men, and somehow there's also struggles with infertility. Like if you go to prison as a woman, you have the ability to be a handmaid's tale and be the surrogate of this other family, but it's like very brutal and you're not allowed to talk to anybody. It follows this one girl off thread in the story, and just about how she like deals with life there. I liked okay, this is where I'm in my opinion, I always heard it's good to start a sentence like that because then you're not accusing anything of anybody of anything. In my opinion, I really liked the idea of the book. I thought it was very interesting, especially like this dystopian feel of actually not being that far away. Like, of course, it was very intense and not very comfortable seeming. The interesting thing was that it was all very relatable, like it was all very close lying, so you could kind of really see it happening in the future in a dystopian way. I also liked the way she wrote in the way of that she kind of dropped little hints here and there, like how she'd tease with information, but only with so much that it would still keep you wondering because it wasn't revealed. Sometimes I almost thought it was a bit too much. Maybe that was again just me, but I didn't understand the system in the beginning at all. Like I didn't get like the colors or what Martha's were. I didn't understand it at all, so I had to Google without trying to spoil myself how just the setup is. Like what is that? At the end, I would have liked to have known what happened to her, just because I think those open endings always... It's the same reason I can't read fan fiction. I need to know what the author thinks about how it ends. Also, like, she had a really nice writing style, but I have a very short attention span, so sometimes my eyes would just kind of like skip forward to the dialogue or where something would happen, which doesn't really mean that I think that it's not written well. I think it's written very well. It's more just for my short attention span, it wasn't that great. But all in all, I'm really happy I read it. I think it's a very good common knowledge book, if you know what I mean. Like a book everybody should have read at least once. All in all, I really liked the book. Then the next book I read was a German book. And the next book I listened to because my mom has Audible and she has Becoming by Michelle Obama on it. She really liked it, like a lot. It kind of made her fall in love with Michelle Obama because in Switzerland I'm like not that involved in American politics anyway. But I always kind of had this fascination for her. I also really like her voice because I listened to that brief podcast series she did once, and I really liked her voice. Like, she has this, I don't know how to describe it, just a very soothing voice. It's so nice and comforting to listen to. Of course, it's like a subjective way of telling somebody's story, but nonetheless, like, kind of every memoir is, or every like autobiography. And I thought it was really fascinating how she, like, just what she accomplished and the way she articulated herself. Not even just to know about her because she's a very important figure in history, but also just because she as a person seems so fascinating and to me very admirable. She kind of explained some of her like thoughts and opinions and why she holds those and how she tries to translate those into reality. I thought it was really inspiring. It made you think a lot, and it made you look at things from a different side, especially if you didn't grow up in a way that she did, which is a very unique way of, like, you know, well, not a unique way of growing up, but a unique way of growing up and evolving, if that makes sense. A unique way of becoming. So I definitely also recommend that. Actually, I recommend all the books that I read. The next one was a German book again. And then I read Educated. Now thinking back at it, it has kind of a similar progression like in Becoming. Growing up in circumstances that normally wouldn't allow you to have that success that the person later on in life had. And also the way that how she, through her own determination and will, I mean, of course, luck is always in the mixture. I'm the biggest hater of luck games. I absolutely hate luck games. I always lose. But in Educated, I just really saw how she really wasn't lucky. Like, she had a lot of really bad stuff happen to her and a lot of stones and rocks put in her way, but she just, I don't know, somehow she just managed, and I really doubt that I would be able to do that. I really do. Oh, what it's about. Yeah, it's basically about, that would maybe also be good to mention. It's about her growing up in a Mormon family, in a strict Mormon family. Like, they wouldn't let their children go to school, they wouldn't let them go to hospitals because everything was tied to the Illuminati. And they lived like in a junkyard farm kind of situation. So they would like have a lot of accidents, but they never go to the hospital. It was a very, of course, patriarchal type family structure. Somehow, through very much determination and willpower, she managed to go to college and to university, and like without having ever gone to school. It leaves you very awe-stricken. Is that a word? I actually said to my sister when I was about midway in the book, it kind of reminds me of Glass Castle in the way that it's growing up like kind of outside of normal society. And then I read on the back of the book that I think the Oprah Book Club or somebody wrote that coming of age story reminiscing the Glass Castle or something like that, which I thought was very funny coincidence. I actually also did a video on the Glass Castle, just in case you're interested. In another German book. And the last book I finished completely though in May was Where the Crawdads Sing. That one I really liked. And maybe biased because it's the last book I read, but I dare say it was my favorite. Interestingly enough, like the whole month kind of had this theme of coming of age stories where you don't grow up in normal society. Like, I didn't notice that until now. Interesting. Anyway, I really liked it. It's about this girl and she lives in a swamp. Kind of her whole family abandons her. They leave her except for the dad, but he's a drunk. And then he just one day never returned. And so she kind of just grew up in the marshes all alone. And she made a living by, I think, selling smoked fish and so to this guy who worked at a ship wharf or something. She explored the marshes on her own and kind of, you know, documented, collected feathers of birds, and she was very lonely by the whole township's called the Marsh Girl, and nobody really wanted to be associated with her except for like a few nice people, like the ship wharf guy and his wife. And then there was a crime scene. I don't want to spoil too much. She kind of, through her explorations in the marshes, like she reads about biology and stuff. She also, by the way, never went to school, so a friend taught her how to read, but she reads and writes about the animals in the marshes, and I just thought it was very interesting. So those were all the books I read in May. I can really recommend all of them. If you've read any of them, feel free to let me know and share your opinion and whatever, and that was my presentation. I hope you liked it. Questions? That's always how I ended my presentations in school. Yeah, and yeah, I guess that was it. Normally in school I'd return to my seat, and here I'll just say bye and see you next time.